and the network operators to provide connectivity to the citizens of Ghana, regardless of their location, through the Rural Telephony Project. This project will close the gap in the MNO's rollout plans and ensure universal access. Brody, Yabraso, Atomfoso, Akore, Dege, Bepoayase, Sampano, Bebunsua, Konkonte, and Kobra in the Tyne constituency will be catered for under phase 2 of the Rural Telephony Project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. I thank the Minister for the responses. But to ask if it will be possible for the Minister to give me the timelines for the phase 1, for the end of the phase 1, so that I'll be aware when phase 2 also commences. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, phase 1 is expected to be completed in 18 months. And so all things being equal, we're hopeful that by the end of next year, phase 1 would have been completed. Thank you.
Any further supplementary?
Honourable Speaker, just to, no further supplementary, but just to add that Sekwa Atumfoso, the mask has not been erected yet. I'm aware it has been done, but it's not been erected, just for the records. Thank you.
Well, it's not a supplementary question. Honourable members, this is a constituency-specific question. I hope it will not be hijacked by any member. Deputy Whip. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want clarification from the Honourable Minister. How many communities out of the 2016 constitute phase 1? Is it all the 2016 communities that you term as phase 1, or it has been divided into several phases?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All the 2016 communities constitute phase 1 of the project. By a conservative estimate, and GIFEC is still collating the list of communities that are still deficient in connectivity, another 2,000 plus would need to be covered under the phase 2 of the project. And that's why I urge members to notify us about the connectivity gaps in your constituencies so that they will be included in the second phase. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Minority Whip, you are entitled to one supplementary. But
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just the last one.
Yes, okay.
Mr. Speaker, the 2016, which constitutes phase 1, was the first, belonged to the facility that was approved in this House. Does it mean the phase 2 is the minister envisaging bringing another facility for approval for phase 2, or there's a funding sitting somewhere for phase 2?
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the funding that was approved by this House is for phase 1 of the project, which covers 2016. GIFEC is now gathering the information about the phase 2, and we will do the needful at the appropriate time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We move on to question number 197. Stands in the name of the Honourable Member for Tempani, Honourable Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba. Honourable Member, you may ask your question now.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Communication and Digitalization what urgent steps the ministry is taking to get ministries, departments, and agencies, MMDAs, and metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, MMDAs, to settle the total amount of 11,054,881.30 pesos on the National Information Technology Agency, NITA.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a vexed issue, and I crave the indulgence of the House to take a little bit of time to respond to it. The National Information Technology Agency, no data center, providing virtual private service, co-location services, and hosting. It also provides connectivity to ministries, departments, and agencies, metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, domain name registration, as well as connectivity to the GIFMIS platform. For 330, recently made a strong case that the lasting solution to this period and reiterates this position during every budget preparation process. It constantly suggested that the Ministry of Finance deduct at source a percentage of all the goods and services budget for all MDAs for digital connectivity and services to offset their indebtedness. It was also made a proposal for the establishment of a central fund to pay NITA for data connectivity, just as MDAs pay for utilities. Mr. Speaker, several efforts have been made by NITA and the Ministry to retrieve outstanding bills from MDAs, including serving the MDAs with demand notices over the period and threats of disconnection for non-payment for services rendered. In June 2020, the Ministry of Finance was reminded yet again to assist in the retrieval of the outstanding monies owed to NITA from the annual budget of the MDAs. Additionally, NITA sent demand and reminder notices to MDAs to pay up their debts, and disconnection notices were sent to defaulting MDAs and MMDAs. Following various appeals to the Ministry of Finance for the centralization of payments of data charges by MDAs, an attempt was made to deal with this challenge in the 2020 budget. The Ministry of Finance made budgetary provision for an amount of 3,877 Ghana cedis, 387 cedis as data charges for all MDAs to NITA. The said amount was captured under the Goods and Services IGF budget of the agency. Mr. Speaker, whereas we commend the Ministry of Finance for this effort, the total amount allocated is woefully inadequate and not sustainable over the medium to long term. This amount will not liquidate the existing debts and provide NITA with the capability to provide reliable and efficient services to its clients, including Parliament. Early this year, the Ministry of Finance, through the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, allocated an amount of 217,134 Ghana cedis for the first quarter and 969,347 Ghana cedis for the second quarter 2021 as data charges for all MDAs. The said allotment for the first and second quarters of 2021 for NITA data charges for all MDAs totaled 1,186,481 Ghana cedis. These allotments are currently being processed on the GIFMIS into the agency's holding account. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, we hereby appeal to the House to support the request of the Ministry for data connectivity and usage charges to be deducted from the budget allocations of MDAs and MMDAs and paid to NITA to prevent disruption in the provision of data services for efficient delivery of public services. Internet usage is indispensable for any business operation, and the public sector is no exception. Digital connectivity is as much a utility as water and electricity, and just as vital in the modern world. With adequate funding, NITA can provide all the services the public sector requires at much cheaper rates than the private sector can offer. We'll also urge the Ministry of Finance in the interim to pay all outstanding debts owed by NITA to its suppliers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, any supplementary?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Minister indicated that due to NITA's indebtedness to its service providers, Vodafone, for example, has disconnected its services to institutions outside Accra. I want to find out from the Minister if alternative sources of internet connectivity have been provided for institutions affected by this disconnection, if there are any affected.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. NITA has made an attempt to continue providing services to the affected MDAs, all of whom are also owing NITA for the services they provide. So it's a catch-22 situation. If MDAs do not pay NITA, NITA cannot pay its service providers so that the service will continue to be operating. And that is why we're urging the House to assist us in our efforts to compel or encourage the Ministry of Finance to pay for this at source. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, any supplementary?
The centralization of payment. Is the Minister privy to and can tell this Honourable House the level of progress made by the Finance Minister at centralizing payment to ensure efficient internet connectivity?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I indicated in the answer, in the current budget, an attempt has been made to allocate some funds centrally for data connectivity charges to NITA. Even though it's commendable, the allocated amount of 3 million plus is just about a quarter of the outstanding indebtedness of MDAs to NITA. So a lot more can be done. So they've tried, but they can still do much better. Thank you.
Your last supplementary, if any.
Mr. Speaker, besides the call for centralization of payment and deduction from source, what other steps is the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization putting in place to ensure compliance by MDAs and MMDAs for uninterrupted internet connectivity?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The only other measure that NITA can take to ensure payment is to disconnect defaulting MDAs. Now, if you look at the attached list, the Judicial Service, Registrar General's Department, Ministry of Justice, all ministries, departments and agencies, MMDAs, are being provided with services. And so they've been reluctant to take this step. However, if their indebtedness persists, they would have no choice than to disconnect defaulting institutions to compel them to pay and to enjoy service, just as Vodafone has disconnected services to NITA outside Accra. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Sam George.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, looking at the appendix supplied by the Minister to her response, 25% of the total debt owed NITA is by two agencies, the Electoral Commission and the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department. These are two agencies that this House provides adequate budgetary allocations for. The Electoral Commission had all allocations for its expenditure. The Comptroller and Accountant General's Department relies heavily on the GIFME system, which is run by NITA. Would the Minister consider, and another 25% of this debt is owed by even agencies of the Minister's own ministry, the likes of GIFEC and Ghana Post, and other ministries of state, including Parliament House. Will the Minister consider suspension of service forthwith to the Electoral Commission and Parliament and the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department that runs GIFMIS until they make the requisite payment to NITA, because NITA itself is owing its service providers?
Yes, Minister, will you consider?
Mr. Speaker, maybe we should start with Parliament House and the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. It would be the last resort, and we're hoping that by appealing to them and using this platform too, the gravity of the situation would be made obvious, and they would take steps to do the needful. However, if all else fails, NITA may consider suspension of services to defaulting institutions, including this august House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, we'll move to the next question. Yes, Minority Leader.
Speaker, if you indulge me, I had just one follow-up for the Minister on NITA. Wanted to find out from her whether the activities of NITA is being commercialized. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be grateful if the Minority Leader would ask a substantive question, then I'd come and respond, because it really isn't related to either the question or the answers provided.
Yeah, Minister, you don't come to answer the question until I give you the permission to do so.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. If you'd ask.
Because I was going to disallow it
Pardon?
as being a substantive question. And you jumped the gun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, please.
I'm taking the cue from you. I appreciate it.
Honorable members, the next question is not going to be taken today. I'm told Yes, Honorable Member.
Mr. Speaker, this is the public interest question, and this is the second time this question has been advertised. And the Minister has not been around to answer the question. And it's a public interest question, Mr. Speaker. The Minister has not given us any justification why this question should not be taken today. And it's not a written question. I've just been told by the clerk at table that he has given an answer to the question last time. It's not a written question, it's an oral question with supplementary questions that we need to find out. People at Bawi and Weja are sitting on a time bomb. Anything at all can happen in that enclave. And we need answers for this question. So, Mr. Speaker, your directive, that next time, the Minister will be ready to answer this question and get Ghanaians ready to understand what is happening in that enclave. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, thanks so much for drawing my attention to this. I was informed by the table office that they have been in contact with you and that the question will not be asked today. That is why I proceeded to move to the next question. But once you draw my attention to it, I direct that the minister appears at the next program date to answer the question. I so direct. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, I thank you for granting me this space. And I heard my honorable colleague and a friend loud and clear. I was surprised at his statement, especially when he has been engaged by the class at table. That answer has been given, and the minister has also not just given us an answer, he has also engaged leadership extensively and given reason why he is unable to appear. The Speaker, the first time he engaged us extensively, and then the second time he did say. So I'm really struggling to understand why my honorable colleague will say this. And yes, of course, this is Parliament. But we must also appreciate that the minister also does other things. I am saying that I would have agreed with you if the minister had not engaged leadership on this. On this one, he has engaged us extensively, and both sides have understood the position of the minister. So I think that there is nothing to litigate about. And the minister has indicated, Speaker, the minister has indicated that tomorrow he will come and do the needful. So there's no point in dragging this matter.
Majority Chief Whip, you are completely out of order. Completely out of order. It is not leadership that asked the question. It was filed by an individual member, not leadership. And so if the minister is minded to engage, then he should have gone beyond leadership to the individual member to explain the situation, why he will not be available to ask the question. Yes, the answer has been supplied, but he's not answered the question, and that is what he has drawn our attention to. So to say what you said is definitely not supported by any rule of our standing orders, practice, or procedure. What is the issue? Yes, please.
Speaker, we have to defer to you, and I'll defer to you on this matter, except to say that in prosecuting agenda on this floor, Speaker, leaders have a responsibility. First, if the minister engages leaders as leaders to also...
Honorable member, will you resume your seat? There is no leadership capture in this matter. You lead the members of parliament. The members represent people in their constituencies, and they have responsibilities. They must represent effectively the people who elected them here. That cannot be shortchanged for leadership in this. I mean, asking a question, yes, the minister definitely will have to come to leadership, and they inform leadership that for 1, 2, 3 reasons, I will not be available to answer the question. But that doesn't substitute a minister doing the same with the member or leadership themselves, discussing the issue, and then the member himself accepting. If that is not done, you can't prevent it. That is not democracy. Please, let's move on. And the minister will appear, answer the question. The minister is regular. He attends sittings. I've been seeing him here. He's not one of the ministers that is shy of attending parliamentary proceedings. It's been so since 1993. Some ministers are always shy of attending parliamentary proceedings. Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, are you one of them? I didn't really. Are you one of them is meant to imply? I didn't catch it. I was just going to indicate that the Honorable Dr. Koku Efriye is one minister that every one of us can vouch for. Yes, I stated that. Renege on his responsibilities without due cause. Can I finish, please? This is what is not good in this house. You make your point, people listen to you. And the leader wants to talk and want to obstruct the person. It's not acceptable. The speaker, the point I'm making is this, that is not one minister who is afraid of this house. And Mr. Speaker, my understanding is that he communicated his inability to leadership. Yes, if there is a challenge, the challenge is between the leadership of the House and the member, how they were unable to reach the member. But indeed and in truth, we will not fault the minister for failing to come to the House. But, Mr. Speaker, I have heard the directive that is given, and my understanding from the chief whip of the majority is that the minister has even suggested that tomorrow we should program him for tomorrow and he'll be in the House. So I think with that understanding, as you have directed, we can move on. But maybe from now on, if there's any communication from any minister to leadership, with due alacrity, we should consult and confer with the members who have filed questions, so that this will not recur in the House. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Yes, Majority Leader, the added value is the fact that you stated that the question should be programmed for tomorrow for the minister to come and answer. The rest, you are simply repeating what I've already stated. So we move on to question number 157, which stands in the name of the Honorable Member for North Tongue, Honorable Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration to take the proper seat. Honorable Member, you may now ask the question.
I'm most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to ask the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration how many Ghanaians were evacuated from other countries due to the COVID-19 pandemic and how much the evacuation cost.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, it would be recalled that Cabinet, at its meeting on Friday, the 22nd of May 2020, approved a strategy paper presented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration with a further directive to develop an evacuation implementation plan for the evacuation of Ghanaians who had become stranded in other countries across the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The implementation plan was put into effect on the 23rd of May 2020 in close collaboration with the COVID-19 task force to bring home these stranded Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, before proceeding to provide details of the evacuation exercise, I wish to place on record that the evacuation exercise was executed in collaboration with other government agencies. As such, information I will provide this August House, particularly those regarding amounts spent by government on the quarantine of evacuees, were provided to my ministry by the National Security Secretariat, which was in charge of quarantine. Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of determining the full extent of government responsibility and resource commitment, the evacuation exercise was grouped into 4 categories, namely, 1, ability to pay. This comprised private individuals, business corporate-sponsored employees, privately sponsored students on exchange programs, government-sponsored students who were yet to complete their courses of study but without any compelling reasons insisted on returning home. It also covered foreign-sponsored evacuations which only required government to provide travel documents and guarantee safe passage, as well as Ghana residence permit holders, including diplomats and their dependents. 2, government-funded evacuation. This consisted of government officials who had traveled on official business, government-sponsored students who had completed their courses of study, as well as government-sponsored students who were yet to complete their courses of study but were compelled to leave their places of residence. 3, distressed and the destitute. This comprised Ghanaians who had traveled to various countries before the advent of the pandemic, but whose circumstances had worsened due to the crisis and consequent travel bans and other restrictions that were imposed by countries around the world. And 4, deportees and returnees, which comprised Ghanaians who had been scheduled for removal from various countries. Mr. Speaker, to ensure a well-coordinated exercise, the evacuation was undertaken in phases. This decision was primarily informed by financial and logistical considerations, namely the capacity of quarantine and isolation centers to hold large numbers of evacuees, and the human resource capacity of the COVID-19 task force and other collaborating agencies to handle the large number of Ghanaians to be evacuated. Subsequently, the sums of Ghana cedis 8,725,000 and United States dollars 1,866,934 were approved by the government to cater for the cost of quarantine and air tickets of stranded Ghanaians in China and the United Arab Emirates, respectively. In addition, 475,895 was expended on the evacuation of stranded Ghanaians in West and Central Africa. The government of Ghana also spent the sum of 44,460,530 Ghana cedis on quarantine of various evacuees in 85 hotels spread across Accra, Pram Pram, Bolgatanga, Takrady, and Kaswa. The cost of hotel accommodation for the evacuees included 3 meals and water per day for the 14-day quarantine. Mr. Speaker, for purposes of clarity and transparency, I will provide this August House a breakdown of how the funds released by government were expended on the evacuation exercise as follows. Number 1, disbursement of the approved funds on airfare. First, under this category are the evacuations from the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and China. The total is 463,118 United States dollars. B, under this category are the evacuations from West and Central Africa, which amounts to 475,895 United States dollars. And C, evacuations from Lebanon. The total expenditure that was borne by the government totals 634,150. For this category, Mr. Speaker, of monies dispersed on airfare totals 1,573,163 United States dollars. The second category, which is expenditure that was borne by government on the quarantine, A, is for evacuees from the United Arab Emirates, totaling 650 evacuees. The amount spent on them was 3,500,000 Ghana cedis. Evacuees from China, totaling 517. The amount involved was 4,725,000. Evacuees from West and Central Africa, which is 506 of them. The money spent on them was 2,156,000 Ghana cedis. On evacuees from Europe and other parts of Africa, the amount spent on them was 13,006,000 Ghana cedis. Insurance that was paid for the Ghana Air Force Casa C-295 to evacuate Ghanaians. Insurance totaled 73,530. For the 2,350 evacuees from Lebanon, the total was 21 million Ghana cedis. Total of expenditure on parenting, which was borne by government, was 44,460,530. Mr. Speaker, some private individuals also made donations to support the efforts of government, and with your indulgence, I would acknowledge them. They include the Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Honorable Kennedy Ejepon, who mobilized the amount of 428,000 United States dollars and included a personal donation of 200,000 to support evacuations from Lebanon. A cash donation of 200,000 from Sethi Brothers. This is 200,000 Ghana cedis from Sethi Brothers was also received to subsidize the cost of parenting of some evacuees from the United Kingdom. The government successfully evacuated a total of 10,025 stranded Ghanaians during the evacuation exercise, which began on 23rd May 2020. The exercise ended on the 18th of September 2020. The countries from which our compatriots were evacuated included the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom, South Korea, United States of America, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Lebanon, China, Israel, Kuwait, Germany, Keta, Japan, Ukraine, Canada, the Netherlands, and Egypt. The rest are Nigeria, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, South Africa, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Turkey, India, Togo, Ethiopia, Senegal, Angola, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Belgium, Russia, Cuba, Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Niger, Mali, Equatorial Guinea, Liberia, the Gambia, and Libya. The airlines used for the evacuation were KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, Ethiopia Airlines, Middle East Airlines, and Emirates Airlines. The Ghana Air Force Casa aircraft was used to evacuate stranded Ghanaians from West and Central African countries. Mr. Speaker, I believe this august House is not oblivious of the human rights violations some of our compatriots working as domestic workers in the Gulf region have had to endure. In the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, the plight of these Ghanaians, including Ghanaians living illegally in Gulf states, such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, got worse, hence the need to repatriate them. Consequently, a total of 534 Ghanaians were evacuated from Saudi Arabia in two separate evacuations, 252 on the 23rd of July and 282 on the 27th of August 2020. Also, 223 Ghanaians were evacuated from Qatar on the 31st of July 2020. The evacuation of some 230 Ghanaian returnees from Kuwait on 23rd May 2020 was the first evacuation exercise to be undertaken by the ministry in close collaboration with other state agencies. The government of Ghana, however, absorbed the cost of quarantine of these evacuees. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, I wish to indicate that the information I have just provided the House is captured in a publication titled Report on the Evacuation of Stranded Ghanaians Abroad, which was undertaken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration for the period May to September 2020, prepared by my ministry. Copies of the report will be made available to the House. I thank you for your attention, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Right, Honourable Speaker, I have 3 supplementary questions. I thank the Honourable Minister for her response. My first supplementary question is from page 24, the last paragraph of the Honourable Minister's answer. She indicates to this House that government successfully evacuated a total of 10,025 stranded Ghanaians. However, Mr. Speaker, I have been doing the arithmetic of the breakdown provided. On that same page, page 24, I even added those from Saudi Arabia, Keta, and Kuwait at page 25. And what you get is a total figure of 5,010. 5,010, 5010, meaning 5,015 have not been accounted for by the breakdown that has been provided. Is the Honourable Minister able to let this House know what accounts for the discrepancy, or if she's able to rectify this discrepancy, Mr. Speaker? The 10,025, the breakdown provided, doesn't add up.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the beginning, I did state that there were several groups of people or categories of people who were evacuated. The first group, ability to pay. These groups, government did not expend any money on them because they had the ability to pay. And that can be found, Mr. Speaker, on page 22 of the order paper. So if there is any discrepancy, it is not a discrepancy. It's actually those who had the ability to pay, and in this case, government had to provide or negotiate for them to come down and all of that. So that's the one group, and then from then we move on to those who, the other categories, the distressed, the deportees, and the government-funded evacuations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, my second supplementary question is still taken from page 24, the breakdown provided by the Honourable Minister on the cost. Mr. Speaker, I have done the basic arithmetic of the number of evacuees, and what emerges, $396 when you do the arithmetic. For those from Lebanon, is $269. However, the evacuees from West is a whopping $940 per person, more expensive than those coming from China, UAE, Europe, and elsewhere, Benin, and we have a cost of $940. Can the Honorable Minister help us understand?
Much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, of my head, do the maths. But one thing that I know, and I say something like that, and that is that it can be very expensive traveling within West Africa and Africa. Yesterday, I saw a fare between Ghana and Togo, and it was over $1,000. So I'm not surprised. When you have fewer numbers, it is quite difficult. And when they come few and far between, it's difficult to negotiate bulk fares. As against when you're negotiating bulk fares for flights from Europe and also from Asia. So in this case, we had the numbers. It was easier to negotiate than the flights coming in from West and Central Africa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, your last supplementary.
Right, Honourable Speaker. My last supplementary question is from the 2021 budget statement presented to this House by the Honourable Oseche Mensah Bonsu on the 12th of March 2021. The short-spanning Minister for Finance, as he then was, the then acting Finance Minister. At page 273 of the Honourable J. Mensah Bonsu's budget, which he presented on behalf of the President, this House was informed that the evacuation of returnees from Lebanon cost the country $46,398,352. And the number of returnees provided in the budget is 2,221. But looking at the Honourable Minister's response to Parliament today at page 24, the cost has been provided as 21 million Ghana cedis and not 46.3 million Ghana cedis. A very wide disparity. As for the returnees, I think we can live with the discrepancy. It's not that much. 2,221 and then 2,350 is what has been provided today. But the challenge is with the 21 million versus the 46,398,352 Ghana cedis in the budget. Can the Honourable Minister kindly explain to this Honourable House why the disparity, a very wide disparity indeed, Mr. Speaker?
Well, I have a difficulty here because these are figures given by two different people. And you are asking one of them to explain the difference. I'm not doubting the figures you have quoted. I'm not doubting the figures. But how one is called upon to reconcile her figures with that of the Honourable Minister, once you are by the majority leader, do you have any information that you can reconcile the two figures? I say once she is seated by you, she is given the opportunity now, whether she has got some information from you to be able to reconcile her figures to yours.
Mr. Speaker, on the face of it, my colleague is just looking at the expenditure borne by government on quarantine alone. It's not the total expenditure.
That is what I want her to, and that's the information you are already given, but she should be able to say it, because it's the minister that is being asked the question. So let's listen to her, then What are you saying? Yes, Ablakwa.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thought I'll be given the opportunity to respond to what the majority leader has said. No, because it's for the record. Because he's totally wrong. It doesn't add up. If you add the cost of ticket, which is $634,000.
We are not debating this matter. The question has been directed to the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
It's less than 5 million Ghana cedis.
Honorable member,
you still have a wide disparity.
Take your time.
21 and 46.
You are addressing the Speaker, not the majority leader.
Okay, I'm sorry. The majority leader should give me some breathing space to ask my supplementary questions.
Yes,
Minister, with respect, he quoted a specific figure, and I'm telling him that the figure he's quoted is limited only to quarantine figures. Is he telling me that I'm wrong?
Majority leader, this question was not directed to you. That is why I asked the minister seated by you to get the information from you.
Thank you very much.
Answer the question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You don't have any business starting up.
That is why, Mr. Speaker, that is why he couldn't also come in. On account of my advice.
I stopped you. Yes, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to draw the honourable member's attention to the section that he quoted from. The 21 million is actually to do with the expenditure that government bore on quarantine. The second one, which is in I, Roman numeral 1, is actually to do with 634 United States dollars, 150. That's to do with the airfares. Now, in addition to that, Mr. Speaker, government spent money on, because most of these people were destitute that had to be moved to centers, and they were there for quite a long period, even before we were able to arrange for their airfares back to, their flights back to Ghana. So all those costs, when you put them together, they go beyond what has been stated here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Kwame Abuja.
All right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. First of all, Mr. Speaker, can the Minister confirm that on page 25, I can see Burkina Faso twice in the names of the countries mentioned? She confirm that there's only one Burkina Faso and that's an error? On page 24, Mr. Speaker, the Minister deliberately listed the numbers attached to the evacuation destination. For instance, A, evacuees from UAE. Then she mentioned the number. But when it comes to D, it says evacuees from Europe and other parts of Africa. No numbers. So, Mr. Speaker, can I ask the Minister, if you take 4,318, which is the number she listed, out of the 10,025, it will be left with 5,707. Is it to be taken that point number D is 5,707? Because that's the only one whose numbers you didn't tell us. So my question is number D. The number there, should that number be 5,707? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Well, the first part of your question, the Minister is not responsible for the print of the order paper. And so she can be called to answer the question why the name Burkina Faso has been repeated. So that one is overruled. But the second part, the Minister is called upon to respond to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in answering the honourable member's question, he did say that I did not deliberately leave out any figures. I don't have the figures here. I can get the figures to you later, but I do not have the figures. But if you say deliberately, I think that it's something that it means I did it on purpose. I did not do it on purpose. I do not have the figures, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I could provide you with the figures, if you so wish, at a later date, Honourable Member. Right, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Minister. Yes, she disagrees with you that she did not deliberately leave out those figures. It's just that those figures did not come to her attention. And so she couldn't have provided for figures that she didn't have. That is, but the word deliberately is what she takes some concern about. Yes, Honourable Dafiamako.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, if I may refer the House to paragraph 3 on page 24 of the order paper. The Honourable Minister says, Mr. Speaker, some private individuals also made donations to support the efforts of government. And with your indulgence, I will acknowledge them. They include the Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Honourable Kennedy Japan, who mobilized an amount of $428,000 and included a personal donation of $200,000 to support evacuations from Lebanon. A cash donation of 201,000 Ghana cedis from City Brothers was also received to subsidize the cost of quarantine of some evacuees from United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, this House established the COVID-19 Trust Fund to receive donations from the public, in addition to government money, to be able to undertake some of its activities. So my question to the Honourable Minister is, did these donations from these private people go through the COVID-19 Trust Fund for purposes of these activities? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. These donations that have been mentioned did not go to the COVID-19 fund. It is because Honourable Kenneth Japan and his friends, including some from this House, wanted the money specifically to go towards the destitute in Lebanon. It is as a result of some radio stations carrying news of people in Lebanon who were stranded, and as a result, they wanted these monies to go specifically towards bringing those people down, and that is exactly what was done. In the case of Seti Brothers, one of their top people came on the London flight, and as a result, they decided that they wanted that money to go towards some people who were stranded, who had come from the UK. So that's exactly what was done. Audits have been done of all these amounts, and it is accounted for to the last penny. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Kofi Adams.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. In the Minister's answer captured in page 25 of the order paper, she mentioned the airlines that were used in the evacuation and specifically indicated that the Ghana Air Force CASA aircraft was used to evacuate stranded Ghanaians from West and Central African countries. Mr. Speaker, when you come to page 24, she states the cost of evacuation, that's the airfare. Evacuation from West Africa and Central Africa alone was $475,895, which is even far higher than that from United Arab Emirates and China, which have lesser numbers as stated in the same page 24. Can the minister tell us whether our aircraft, CASA aircraft that was used, were charging fares as indicated in the manner she answered the earlier follow-up questions, or we provided only fuel for them to lift stranded Ghanaians from West Africa and Central Africa? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, my understanding is that it was for fuel, and then you'd find under Roman numeral 2E, you'd also find insurance. So it was for fuel. That's my understanding. That is the cost that was given to us by the Ghana Air Force. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, we'll move on to the next question. Well, sorry, my daughter. You couldn't catch my eye. Please, the last supplementary is coming from Honourable Dr. Zanetov.
Mr. Speaker, I think I might have to wear red to catch your eye next time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to inquire from the Minister, based on her answer on page 25, on paragraph 3, she mentioned the issue of human rights violations with regards to those who were in the various countries in the Gulf illegally. I would like to inquire from her whether her ministry has ascertained the routes by which these persons left Ghana and went to those particular countries, and whether there's been any legal proceedings put in place to seek justice for those whose human rights were violated in those particular states.
Your question is mainly on the routes the illegal migrants used. Is that understanding correct?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, as a means to ensure that we can manage the proper migration of our citizens from this country to the Gulf states.
Well, it doesn't actually arise from the main question, but as a Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, if she has that information, she could share with the House. But you're not talking about the illegal routes, because the question is not directed at that. It's talking about cost of evacuation. She might not have looked at it, but if she has the answer, why not? You can tell the House.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable Member, I'd be grateful if you would file a question on this particular issue, because I have a lot to say. Indeed, if you are asking how they left Ghana, many of them now do not go through airports. Many of them use unapproved routes and get their visas in other parts of West Africa. And therefore, it is difficult for us to account for them. Unfortunately, when they get to their destination, they do not also let us know at the embassies that they are there. I really would like to come back and talk about this matter. As we speak, many who were evacuated from Lebanon have started going back. And so we are experiencing problems again. But if I can have a substantive question on this, I'd like to share with you the information I have. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Well, they may be following the history of Lebanon itself, because they also left Lebanon through no routes, and many of them were towaways. That's how they left Lebanon, and dispersed worldwide, as a result of a long drought, which led to famine in that country. But we should not encourage this now. We don't have a long drought. There's no famine in Ghana. I think we are better than many countries. So we move on to the next question. But, Honourable Member, you can file a substantive question on this matter. The Minister is ready and willing to come to answer the question. We move to question number 170. Stands in the name of the Honourable Member for Joaboso, Honourable Kwabena Minta Akando. Yes, Honourable Member, you may ask your question.
Most grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration the nature of diplomatic engagement with the Russian government relating to the procurement of Sputnik V vaccines.
Yes, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Diplomatic engagements with the government of the Russian Federation regarding the supply of Sputnik V vaccines to Ghana were confined to the following. A. Correspondence with the Russian Embassy in Accra. B. Correspondence between the Ghana Embassy in Moscow and Russian government agencies. And C. Meetings with Russian government officials. Mr. Speaker, on correspondence with the Russian Embassy here in Accra, my ministry, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, between 2020 to date, exchanged a number of correspondence with the Russian Embassy regarding the supply of the Sputnik V vaccines to Ghana. At the instance of the Russian Embassy in Accra, the ministry transmitted a letter dated 7th of December 2020 from the Chief Executive Officer of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, Mr. Kirill Dmitriev, addressed to the Honorable Minister for Health, Kweku Agyeman-Menu, announcing the registration of the Sputnik V vaccine as the world's first vaccine against COVID-19, which was registered in Russia on the 11th of August 2020. The letter also requested the contact details of Ghanaian authorities responsible for approving the use of the vaccine for purposes of procuring same. The ministry, by a note verbal, dated 16th February 2021, also forwarded to the Russian Embassy a letter from the Ministry of Health requesting for the facilitation of the Russian government in the procurement of the Sputnik V vaccines for use in Ghana in view of the surge in the COVID-19 cases in the country. As recent as 1st July 2021, my ministry, on behalf of the Ministry of Health, addressed a note verbal to the Russian Embassy in Accra requesting the latter to assist to establish direct contact with the Russian Direct Investment Fund for the purpose of the supply of vaccines to Ghana. Mr. Speaker, on correspondence between the Ghana Embassy in Moscow and Russian government agencies, the Embassy in Moscow also corresponded with Russian government agencies based on instructions received from my ministry. Given its unique access to Russian government agencies, including the Ministry of Health of Russia and the Russian Direct Investment Fund, the mission was tasked to make the necessary contacts and follow-ups to obtain information pertaining to the costs and delivery of the vaccines to Ghana to enable government make informed decisions. Mr. Speaker, on meetings with Russian government officials, during a bilateral meeting with the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation and Special Presidential Representative for the Middle East and Africa, His Excellency Mikhail Bogdanov, who visited Ghana from the 7th to 11th February 2021, I informed the Deputy Minister of Ghana's interest in initiating discussions with the Russian government on the procurement of the Russian-made vaccine, Sputnik V, to help Ghana fight the COVID-19 infections. In response, the Russian deputy minister stated that the Russian government was ready to facilitate Ghana's access to the vaccines. Furthermore, when the Russian deputy foreign minister paid a courtesy call on the President of the Republic, His Excellency the President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo seized the opportunity to request the Russian deputy minister to facilitate the supply to Ghana of the Sputnik V vaccines, following its approval by the Food and Drugs Authority of Ghana as suitable for managing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in Ghana. Also, at a meeting to receive the letters of credence of the newly appointed ambassador of the Russian Federation to Ghana, His Excellency Mr. Sergei Bednikov, on Friday, the 25th of June 2021, I raised the issue of the pending order placed by the government of Ghana for 15 million doses of the Sputnik V vaccines from Russia and requested the ambassador to assist in ensuring the speedy delivery of the vaccines to Ghana. Right Honorable Speaker, although the diplomatic contacts with the Russians have regrettably not yielded the desired positive results, it is vital to underscore that the driving force behind the engagements that the ministry undertook with the Russians, as well as with all other foreign partners, was the urgent need for Ghana to secure vaccines to prevent and control COVID-19 infections. Indeed, since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, the ministry has spared no effort in requesting from our development partners the supply of COVID-19 vaccines, especially those partners that have announced successes with vaccine development. I wish to assure the House that the ministry will continue to deploy every diplomatic resource at its disposal to ensure that Ghana is not left behind in the race to secure COVID-19 vaccines. I thank you for your kind attention.
Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, you may do so.
Mr. Speaker, can the minister furnish this House with copies of the correspondence? Because, Mr. Speaker, what I have is different from what has been enumerated in the answer. So if the minister will be kind enough to give us copies of the correspondence.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm able to do so.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the answer, I realize that the highest government official from Russia that Ghana government has dealt with is the Deputy Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs in Russia. Mr. Speaker, the minister couldn't even engage his counterpart, the substantive minister responsible for Foreign Affairs in Russia. The president couldn't call the president of Russia under these circumstances.
Is that your supplementary?
Yes, that's my question. That's my question.
I don't get the question, so can you rephrase it? Was you were...
Mr. Speaker, the question is, why is it that the highest Russian government official we engage is the deputy minister responsible for foreign affairs in Russia? Why? That's the question.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am reluctant to respond to this question for the simple reason that the way the question was asked, that the highest official is the deputy minister. That is indeed the case. But, Honourable Minister, you do not know who the person is, and he's the deputy minister, and you do not know the influence of that deputy minister. You want me to say that I have engaged my counterpart. I have not engaged my counterpart because that is not the way it's done. You asked me to come here to say what my ministry has done. There have been other contacts that have been made.
Honorable Minister, sorry to intervene.
Oh, no, Honorable Minister,
Honorable Minister, you are addressing me.
Yes,
you are not addressing
Mr. Speaker, I apologize. Other contacts have been made. I am reporting what my ministry has done as at today. But other contacts have made even at the very highest level. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, your last supplementary.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the RDI, the Russian Direct Investment Fund, has dealt with more than 30 countries, including African countries, Algeria, Kenya, Rwanda. Mr. Speaker, the minister states that their engagement hasn't yielded any fruit. Mr. Speaker, do we have diplomatic challenges with Russia?
The supplementary question is, do we have diplomatic challenges with Russia? Supplementary to this main question.
Mr. Speaker, in the minister's answer, he has indicated that we have not been successful in getting Sputnik V for the good people of this country.
Yes, I read it. It's here.
Very well, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I have indicated to you the countries that have been successful in securing Sputnik V for their country. Why is it that we have not been successful in securing those vaccines?
That's a different question from the first one you asked.
That's the substance of it.
That's not the substance of it.
Mr. Speaker, then I have reframed the question with all respect.
Yes, so Minister, answer the second one. The first one has been overruled. It's the second one that you attempt to answer. No, not diplomatic challenges. That's not the question. The minister has not got your question. So please, can you repeat the question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this is the third time I'm repeating the question. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying simply is that the minister indicated to us that he has not been successful getting the vaccines for this country. And I'm saying that some other countries, as many as 30 countries, have been successful. Why haven't we been successful?
Yes, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, all I know is that we have not been successful, and I do not know why. And I do not know the other countries that have been successful. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'll give it to the backbenchers this time. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity. If I may ask the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration whether or not in her diplomatic dealings he involved the Ministry of Health of Ghana in finding the Sputnik V vaccine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Whether the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Integration of Ghana called the Minister of Health of Russia?
No, involve our own Minister for Health in the search. Mr. Speaker,
whether the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana involved our Minister of Health in the search.
Exactly. Please, still in the foreign dealing, because I want to find out whether the Minister of Health was in the know of this diplomatic relation to find the Sputnik V vaccine.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I did say that at the instance of the Russian embassy, we transmitted a letter dated 7th of December from the Chief Executive Officer of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, addressed to the Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Adjumameno, when Russia came up with their vaccine. The letter requested some details from us. The Minister of Health also responded, and through us, the response was sent to the Russian government or the agency responsible. So yes, there's been some correspondence between the Minister of Health, through us usually, to the Russian authorities on this matter. Thank you.
I can see the honourable member for Adenta. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, under the response correspondence with the Russian Embassy in Accra, the third paragraph, it says the Ministry by note verbal dated 16 February 2021 also forwarded to the Russian Embassy a letter from the Ministry of Health requesting for the facilitation of the Russian government in the procurement of the Sputnik V vaccine for use in Ghana in view of the surge in the COVID-19 cases in the country. I want to find out from the Minister whether there was any response from the Russian government with respect to whether or not they could provide, they could supply the vaccines or they could not, so that government could engage with a third party. I'm asking this question because I'm aware. Okay, thank you.
Well, the honourable member wants to know whether there was a response to this note verbal dated 16 February 2021.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I never cited a response. Thank you.
Honourable Second Deputy Speaker to take the chair. Yes, Honourable Ablakwa, supplementary.
Most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to find out from the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs if in her efforts to engage with the Russian authorities, she utilized the window created by the Africa Union, because the Africa Union has secured 300 million doses, and they have indicated that there is a credit line for member countries to take advantage of. And some countries have utilized that platform. The Africa Union working with the Russian Direct Investment Fund, who are the marketers of Sputnik V. Was there any engagement with the Africa Union taking advantage of the 300 million doses that Russia put at the disposal of Africa?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. There was no such engagement by my ministry, but I must put on record that African Ministers of Health are directly engaged with this process. Thank you.
Honourable members, we have come to we started long ago. I'm not sure you won't take us backwards. You want to ask a supplementary question?
Mr. Speaker, I want to find out from the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs whether she's excluding herself from African ministers engaging in the transaction.
Of health, African ministers of health. She is not one. She is not one. Yes, honourable members, I want to, on your behalf and on my part, thank the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration for attending upon the House and giving very comprehensive responses to the questions that have been posed to her. Honourable Minister, we are extremely grateful and you are hereby discharged. We now move to question number 161, who stands in the name of the Honorable Member for Wa East, Honorable Dr. Godfred Seidu Jasau, the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development should take his proper seat now. Honorable Member, you may ask your question.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development when the renovation of hatcheries will start in the Upper West region. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the miniature public hatchery located in Sankana, Nadoli Kalio district, is the only hatchery in the Upper West region. The facility has not been operational over the years. The ministry, in the medium term 2022 to 2025, intends to develop aquaculture potential of the region by constructing hatcheries in suitable locations, including the White Volta tributaries in the Wa East district. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable question. Any supplementary question?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm happy with her initial response, including plans for Wa East District. That's commendable. May I know whether this will be captured in the 2022 budget that will be presented to this House?
Yes. Minister, did you hear? Please repeat the question.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I just want to confirm if your plans for the hatcheries and those you have for the White Volta tributaries in the Wa East District will be captured in the budget for your ministry for 2022 to this House.
Yes, Minister. Did you hear this time?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I got him right, the hatcheries we intend to develop in the 2022 medium term, which will be included in our budgetary too for the area. Thank you.
Yes. Any further supplementary question? But please speak up a bit.
No further questions on that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, honorable member for Nadoli.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm delighted to follow up because the hatchery is found in my constituency. And Honorable Minister, the question initially asked when the hatchery will be renovated. And your answer, you indicate that the facility has not been operational over the years. Why is the facility not operational? Because that was the source of fingerlings for most of the dams in the Upper West region, as you indicated. Why is it not operational? And do you have plans to renovate it in the interim while we work at constructing new hatcheries? Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not operational because it was not included in the budget. So there was no plan to stock the ponds around the area. And some of the portions also need to be reconstructed before we can stock the ponds. Thank you.
Yes. So we move to question number 62, which stands in the same person's name. Dr. Gofesedu, you may ask your question, please.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development what specific measures are being put in place to reverse the formal warning, that's yellow card, from the European Union that could lead to eventual banning of seafood from Ghana. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana was issued with a warning or threat to issue yellow card on June 2nd, 2021 by the EU for being identified as a non-compliant country in the fight against illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Ghana has categorized the issues into long-term, medium-term, and short-term, spanning from 1 month to 24 months for all the concerns to be addressed. We have set up a dialogue mission with EU to address the issues. The first meeting between the two parties is scheduled for 23rd July 2021. We are seeking Cabinet approval for a new Fisheries Act to be enacted to meet all international obligations. A draft marine fisheries management plan will be validated in a workshop scheduled for 27th July 2021, after which the plan will be submitted to Cabinet for approval, then gazetted for implementation. A new national plan of action on IUU fishing, national plan of action on IUU fishing, which IUU fishing 2021 to 2025, which is being implemented by the Fisheries Commission, was deposited with the Food and Aquaculture Organization of the United Nations on 5th May 2021. Fishery monitoring system and the automatic identification system have been ratified and are now operational, and vessels' activities are being monitored for compliance. Fisheries Commission's catch certification unit with EU, and the recent training was held on 7th to 8th June 2020 EU catch certification processes. The Ministry is collaborating with Ghana Navy and the Marine Police, the security agencies involved in the Fisheries Enforcement Unit, to monitor and arrest fisheries offenders for prosecution. In the medium term, a GA audit has been conducted to ensure that fishing GAs reflect the approved conduct and net opening, which will help reduce the volumes of bycatch that attracts the cycle operators. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member, any supplementary question?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the supplementary question. We have been here before. In 2010, 2013, or we put in specific arrangements and ensured that by 2015, the ban was lifted. Now, when the EU was issuing you with the threat, they also gave some specific recommendations. I want to find out what specific punishment have for vessels and operators that violate place as a management measure.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The punishments are in the Act, and so we're going to enforce the law, as stated earlier on. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member, any further supplementary question?
Yes, right, Honorable Speaker. In the Minister's written response on page 28, one of the specific measures you plan to implement is captured in III. We are seeking Cabinet approval for a new Fisheries Act to be enacted to meet all international obligations. Mr. Speaker, what is wrong with the current Fisheries Act?
Yes, Honourable Minister, what is wrong with this current Act?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the Act, we are working on it. When I got to the office, as I mentioned, the EU has specifically given us some of the issues that it should be added in the Act. And that is why we say we are presenting the Act to Cabinet. Specifically, is the GA auditing that we have started. It is not in the Act as we speak. The number of vessels that should be operated on our waters is not part of it. And there are so many other things that we need to work on to make sure that we meet the international standard. Thank you.
Honourable Member, you allow supplementary question.
Thank you very much. Right on the final supplementary. Madam Minister, what challenges our efforts to enforce and reverse this yellow card? What challenges are you facing?
Honourable Minister, any challenges?
Mr. Speaker, to be very frank, we are not having any challenges as we speak. Thank you.
On that note, we move to question number 163. That stands in the name of the member for Keta, Honorable Kwame Juzoli Gapi. Honorable Member, you may ask your question.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development the plans the ministry has to develop aquaculture in Keta Lagoon and the numerous streams to produce fish, shrimps, red lobster, crabs, etc. for more food and jobs. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Keta Lagoon is a nursery area, feeding grounds and pathways for the diagonous migration of many fish species. The lagoon faces the following problems with respect to ecosystem productivity and capacity to sustain fishes' livelihoods. Degradation and habitat loss, pollution, purification of aquatic plants that cover large areas of the lower water estuary, overfishing and illegal fishing practices, certain of connection of the lagoon with the open sea, the lack of adequate management of the lagoon and related fisheries activities. The lagoon has the potential to be developed as a highly productive ecosystem in order to enhance fish production and create jobs along the fisheries and aquaculture value chains. The following actions have been visited by MOFAD. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member for Keta, any supplementary question?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, in the answer provided.
Honorable Member, hold on. It appears the Minister didn't finish reading out her answer. So,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. The answer was not completed. Yeah. So, number one, designate a core management area and plan for fisheries resources and other resources in the area, in which all key stakeholders will have input into the management, fisheries, and other resources over the lagoon and the entire basin. Aquaculture development. The ministry will continue to support aquaculture in the Keta Lagoon basin already. Already, there are about 25 ponds in Anyanu and Sevuchola. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member for Keta, you may now ask your supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. In her answer she provided, she made mention of pollution, proliferation of aqua plants, and then etc. I would like to find from the Minister what measures is the ministry taking to address this pollution as well as aquatic plants. Thank you.
Yes, Minister, any measures taken?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the ministry will collaborate with the environmental agency to work on it, and also the lands ministry. Thank you.
Yes. Honorable Member, any further supplementary question?
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, we move to the last question on the order paper, which stands the name for a member for Commander Edina Eguafu Abrim, Honorable Samuel Atamels. Yes, Honorable, you may ask the Minister your question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development why the fishing processing plant at Elmina is still closed, and what is the ministry doing about it?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the fish processing plant at Elmina started operations in 2016 when the project was handed over. However, the facility had challenges with the absence of an effluent treatment plant to treat waste after processing, and faulty condenser coils for the refrigeration system. Through the defect liability period, the condenser coil for one of the refrigerators was replaced. The absence of the ETP was design defect, which the contract did not cover. The Indian government had agreed for the use of the outstanding amount on the project to replace the iron coils with copper coils, install an ETP, and construct a warehouse for the facility to make it operational. Thank you.
Yes, honorable member. Any supplementary question?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the minister again. So when will this call be fixed? And when should we expect the fish processing plant to be in operation?
Yes, honorable minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have contacted the Indian ambassador. And as I mentioned earlier on, we've also called on the consultant to come and have a meeting with my office. Then we can take it from there. We cannot assess the rest of the facility without the consultant and the contractor. They actually know what the issues are. And so we are collaborating with them. So when we are able to do it, we'll write to India High Commissioner and the funds will be released for the works to be done and to be operational. Thank you.
Yes, honorable member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the minister's answer, she says something about the Indian government has agreed for the use of the outstanding amount on the project. What amount is she talking about? How much is it?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I took over office and visited the facility, I was informed that when the construction was done, they were left with some few monies in their accounts that needed to be used for the warehouse and other facilities there. And it has not been used. So when I met the India Commissioner, High Commissioner, to discuss with him, he made me aware that yes, the money is there, the rest of the money is there. And so we can use it to work on the issues that are on the plan so it can start working formally. Thank you.
Yes, honorable members, we move to the commencement of public business. Yes. Minister, thank you very much. Thank you very much for attending upon the House to answer some questions. You are hereby discharged. Yeah, we move to public business and page 3, we move to item number 7. Presentation of petition by a member for Okaikwe North, Ms. Teresa Ladi Awuni. Honorable.
Petition of the Board, Management and Parent-Teacher Association of Achimota School and Junior High School that Parliament investigate the unlawful takeover of Achimota Preparatory School, APS, by Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education.
Honorable members, the petition has been duly presented. It is referred to the Committee on Education for consideration and report. Yes, Honorable Deputy Majority.
Mr. Speaker, if none of the other presentation of papers are ready, so if there's any statement, we can take any statement, if there's any. So, Mr. Speaker, if there's no statement, none of the public business is ready so far, we can then adjourn. We can. So, Mr. Speaker, I move that this House be adjourned till tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. I so move.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, We've noticed that our colleagues from the other side do not have any business for us to do, public business for us to do. Therefore, I so second the motion that this House will adjourn till tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Member for Kankwe Central. Is there any issue?
Mr. Speaker, you regulate the business of the House. We announced to you the order on which we want proceedings to take place on the floor. We are ready to work. Yes, provided Mr. Speaker will allow us to proceed. We are ready to work.
Yes, Honourable Member, I'm ready to also work, but it appears leadership, together with those who are supposed to help the House to work, are not available there. Those who are supposed to present the papers and
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the motion has been moved for adjournment and it has been seconded. The question is, as many as are in favor of the motion, say aye. Those against the motion, say no. Honourable members, I put the question again. As many as are in favor of the motion for adjournment, say aye. Those against adjournment, say no. This time the ayes have it. The House is accordingly adjourned to tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the forenoon. The House stands adjourned.